The story begins on a stormy night. Tess Marshall, Georgina Campbell, arrives at 467 Barbary Street to check into an Airbnb she booked, but she can't find the house key or contact whoever booked her. Before she leaves, she notices a light in the house turn on and rings the doorbell. Keith Toshko, Bill Skarsgård, responds, stating that he, too, has reserved the house. Because they can't reach the bookers, Keith invites Tess to stay with them while they try to sort things out. Tess is unable to find another hotel, so she takes a shower and is invited to share a bottle of wine with Keith. She explains that she is attending a job interview with a filmmaker named Bonnie Zane, Sophie Sorensen. Keith claims to have seen her last film, despite Tess's belief that no one else would have seen it. They spend some time together before going to bed. Tess awakens during the night to overhear Keith gasping in his sleep, most likely due to night terrors. She tries to wake him up, but both of them are startled. Keith denies there is anything wrong. Tess has her interview the following day. As she steps outside, she notices that all of the houses surrounding the Airbnb appear abandoned and dilapidated. Tess then goes to the restaurant to meet Bonnie. Everything goes swimmingly until Tess mentions where she is staying, at which point Bonnie warns her to get out of there as soon as possible. When Tess returns to the house, a man named Andre James Butler chases her down and orders her to leave. Despite her fear, Tess goes about her business and eventually ends up in the basement. Her phone is on the kitchen table and the door locks behind her. She then discovers a rope attached to the wall and a hidden entrance to a tunnel. Despite her reservations, Tess enters the tunnel for a few moments. She discovers a room with a bed, a camera, and a bloody handprint on the wall, as well as a staircase leading further down, which causes her to panic. She runs back to the basement and sees Keith outside, so she gets him to help get her out. Tess tells Keith what she saw and tells him they need to get out of there. Keith goes to check it out to reassure her that there is nothing serious down there. Tess eventually goes looking for Keith and walks down the stairs. Keith screams for help, and she hears him. Tess discovers him in the tunnel, and he claims that something bit him. Before they can flee, the mother, Matthew Patrick Davis, a horrifying naked humanoid monstrosity, after an unspecified amount of time, screenwriter A.J. Gilbride, Justin Long, is driving when he receives a phone call from his colleagues. They inform him that he has been fired from their most recent project because a woman claims A.J. raped her. Even though he maintains his innocence, his accountant drops him from representation. Later, A.J. goes out with a friend, almost openly admitting that he forced the woman into sex. Later, A.J. travels out of state to the house he is renting, which also happens to be the Barbary house. When he arrives, he finds Tess's luggage and goes into the basement to investigate. He is discovered and pursued by the mother before falling into a pit where Tess is also kept. Return to the 1980s, when Barbary Street was bustling with life. A man named Frank, Richard Brake, who lives in the same house, goes shopping for baby supplies. He then notices a young woman and follows her home. Frank disguises himself as an electric company employee in order to gain access to her home and unlock her bathroom window. When Frank returns home, his next-door neighbor Doug, Kurt Braunholer, informs him that he and his wife are selling their home. Back in the present, Tess instructs A.J. to remain quiet and calm. The mother then lowers a baby bottle into the pit, from which Tess drinks, but A.J. is less eager. The mother enters the pit, treating Tess as if she were her child, but she growls and screeches at A.J. Tess and A.J. manage to climb out of the pit and begin their escape, but AJ is left behind and imprisoned in a room where the mother forces him to breastfeed off her. Tess manages to break the basement window and is dragged out by Andre before the mother can reach her. Andre attempts to take Tess to safety, but she insists on returning to free AJ. Tess calls the cops, but when they arrive, they mistake her for a drug addict because of her disheveled appearance. She brings them to the house, but because she has no evidence of a crime, the cops leave. Tess waits until it's dark before breaking into the house and retrieving her keys. The mother appears and tries to break into Tess's car as she gets into her car, but she drives into the side of the house to try to kill the mother. But it only briefly knocks her out. Meanwhile, AJ has entered a room and discovered Frank, who is bedridden and near death. AJ sees several tapes of women Frank has raped over the years that Frank has kept. As AJ criticizes him for his illness, Frank pulls out a gun and shoots himself in the head. AJ takes the gun and exits the room. Tess is down there and calls out to him, which startles AJ and causes him to pull the trigger. Tess is shot in the abdomen, but AJ assists her in fleeing the house. Tess notices that the mother is not where she was when they first arrived. She informs AJ that she knows where they can flee to. Tess takes AJ down to the water, where Andre instructed her to go for safety. He informs them that Frank was the owner of the house and was most likely the source who booked the victims. He would kidnap women and rape them, giving birth to children he would also rape, and the mother is the result of incestuous rape that has been going on for over 40 years. Andre is confident that she will not find them when the mother appears and rips his arm off, then beats him to death with it. Tess and AJ flee for safety and climb a water tower. AJ drops the gun just as the mother closes in on them. AJ believes he can save both of them by grabbing Tess and throwing her off the tower, knowing the mother will instinctively go after her baby. AJ runs down and finds the mother seemingly dead. The mother springs back up and gouges AJ's eyes out with her thumbs before cracking his head in half, just as he tries to justify his actions to Tess. The mother then crawls over to Tess, who has grabbed the gun. She has a slight smirk on her face before pulling the trigger. Tess then gets up and walks out of the area to get medical attention.